Hello there, my name is Ian, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm joined by two guests, my friend Jaco from Rovigo, Italy. Hello, Jaco.
Hello there.
And first time on the channel is Bill from Bill's Box of Sound, a fellow Ohioan and also editor, producer of the Zappa Cast. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great.
Me too. Yeah, I'm doing fine.
Good, good, good. So, um, Johnny B, say hi to Johnny B in the chat. How you doing, man?
Hey, Johnny. Hey. Oh, God. And we started here.
Yep, already starting. Hello, Z. Good to see you.
As he said, yeah.
So we're going to talk about the new box set from Zappa Records and Universal. This is One Size Fits All. And I don't know how we're going to structure this conversation. I guess we could go by disc, or we could just talk about, oh, here's the studio section, here's the live section, whatever. But I just thought I would start a general conversation. What does this album mean to us? Why do we love it? You know, why are we celebrating its 50th anniversary? And Bill, you can go first. You can talk about it a little bit if you'd like to.
Well, yeah, I've had the album ever since it came out. I remember when the album was released, and I didn't know it was being released, and I was in somebody's car, and they played Florentine Pogen.
Oh yeah,
and it's like I have a reason to celebrate. But for a lot of people, and I said this in my review, I believe a lot of people, this is their favorite Zappa album. I mean, I absolutely love this record. And one of the reasons that it hasn't always been my favorite is because the music is so dense.
Yeah.
There's so much packed into this. But now that this box set is out and we've got high-res audio as well as multi-channel audio, there's a lot more that is easier to hear. And that's what makes this this box set a wonderful thing.
Yeah, as they say, it's a lot to unpack. And I feel like this box set unpacks it very nicely. You know, literally you can listen to the multi-channel mixes and hear little details spread around the room that maybe you've never noticed before, or you can go back to the studio sessions and hear how he built it, which is something that I find endlessly fascinating. So I remember hearing this for the first time. I remember where I was the first time I heard it. I was already a Zappa fan. I had Apostrophe, I had Grand Wazoo, Waka Jawaka, Roxy, and elsewhere. And I knew this material from the Best Band You Never Heard in Your Life, but I hadn't heard the original versions before. And I just remember sitting down and hearing Inca Roads for the first time, you know, in its original, you know, released version, and just being like, where did this come from? You know, so yeah, Jaco, do you remember the first time you heard it, and what are your some impressions about this?
Oh,
album?
yeah, I was, I think it was 12 years old or something like that. And I don't think there's, I can have another favorite album by Frank Zappa that isn't We're All in It for the Money, but
Sure.
this one really comes close second. Because, yeah, as Bill was saying earlier, it's a very textured album. It's very detailed, but at the same time, it's also very accessible, I think. There's a lot of cool riffing there. Frank's guitar is amazing. The vocals are fantastic. That's one of the reasons this is one of my favorite albums. And I think the first time I heard this album, I had already heard some of the tunes on it, but they were really different because I didn't really, you know, when I started listening to Frank Zappa, I was just a kid and I would buy things at random. So before getting One Size Fits All, I had the Lost Episodes release, where there's a completely different version and arrangement of Inca Roads.
Yeah.
So hearing this one for the first time was a mind blower. And of course, Florentine Pogen became possibly my favorite Zappa song. You know, there's a lot of to love on this album, and
yeah,
this box set's really interesting because you really get a view on how Frank, you know, constructed this.
Yeah,
you know how the final product was assembled, and it's really fascinating.
I would agree with everything you said, and 2 points I want to make. Like, both of you mentioned Florentine Pogen, and I've always been an Inca Roads guy. My nickname in college was Inca Roads. Like, that's how obsessed with this song I was. But when I was listening to this album again and again and again in the multi-channel mix, especially comparing the KCET version of Florentine Pogen, which is the backing tracks of the studio album version, he managed to make that thing so heavy on the final version. And Jaco, like you said, it's so brilliantly textured. And I don't think I caught just how textured it was until like this last week or so, you know, hearing those parts spread around and hearing the original versions and stuff. And then, you know, hearing Away, I always thought that Can't Afford No Shoes was a pretty simple blues rock tune with some, you know, Frank-esque vocals on top of it, Frankified vocals. But to hear how something like that had so many different stages and permutations that it went through and edits before he got just the right one, it's really astonishing, I think. Real quick, I want to say hello to Gary. Good to see you, man. Good friend of mine.
Hey, Gary.
Also want to say hello to Dave L. So let's see. Z says disc for disc, please. So we could just do a quick rundown. So disc 1, of course, is the 2012 remaster from Bob Ludwig. So if you have that old master, there's nothing new there. But the entire second half of disc 1, we begin with these rough mixes, and Bill's showing us some stuff there. We begin with these rough mixes here, and I'm going to go ahead and...
Well, before you go with rough mixes, I just wanted to say that my original copy of One Size Fits All was one of those Ryko CDs where they had the gold version audio on it accidentally, and that one was considered to be the best digital version of it. And I do think the 2012 Bob Ludwig remaster is even better. I mean, it's not fantastically better, but it sounds a little bit more pleasant to me.
Yeah, I remember this album being extremely bass heavy. The first version I had, which was the 95 Ryko disc version. And I feel like the Bob Ludwig master definitely uncovered a lot in terms of pulling back some of those bass frequencies, and you could hear, you know, how complex it really was. So I want to say hello to Pontus, calling in from Sweden. Hey, buddy, good to see you. One of these days, Pontus is going to be a guest, I think. He's a good man. So I went ahead. I was going to throw the Zappa store up here so you could see the track listing. It's too hot to hold a box set. It's like 90 degrees. But
what I'm doing,
yeah, well, he's doing it. He's tough. He's tougher than me. But yeah, what's fascinating about the way that Joe Travers has kind of organized this set is that we get an extended version of the album. It's like a 90-minute version of the album because all of these different takes are presented in album order. And you could almost construct like an alternate version from what he's giving us here. But, you know, it ranges from like the Inca Roads isn't all that much different, but I feel like you can hear more vocals in there. You can hear a little bit more of like ambient synthesizers that maybe George Duke was lending.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a total George Duke head. Like,
absolutely.
Anything George Duke, I just eat up. But what were you going to say, Jaco?
I mean, it's not really as different as other tracks on the CD, but I do absolutely love the string synthesizer during Frank's solo, which I think is an overdub, by the way. I don't think I'm hearing that on the Alson-Key double CD. So that one was one of the first of the many eyebrow raising moments on this set here.
Yeah, and it is in the final mix, by the way.
Yeah, but it's mixed. Yeah, it's
way back.
It's way back.
Yeah.
But as kind of as I had alluded to, stuff starts getting really interesting when we go into this Ralph Stuffs His Shoes thing. And I love Can't Afford No Shoes, and I think the way that it turned out is for the best. But this original version is so catchy. Like I kept running the Ralph Stuffs His Shoes motif in my head for like days and days. I was singing it to my cat. Like, but as I kind of had mentioned earlier, it's great how it shows you that it kind of reminds me, there was an interview with Frank where somebody asked him like, what was the difference between Valley Girl, something like Valley Girl, and the more serious music. And he said, well, it's all equally serious to me, whether it's a goofy song or if it's a fun blues tune or if it's something more elaborate like an Inca Rhodes or a Gregory Peccary. To him, it was all at an equal level. And I love hearing how it definitely took a lot of work and a lot of different mixes, trying out different things before we got to that really tight 2-minute version of Can't Afford No Shoes. So, this is to me where the box starts getting really interesting. And then it continues, of course, on disc 3. But is there anything else we want to talk about with this first part of the studio selections?
Well, I'm sorry, Bill. Were you going to say something?
Nope. It's all you.
Okay, I really like the basic tracks. Basic tracks take 5 track more than the rough mixes of this one, because there's because Frank's guitar is mind blowing on that part.
Yeah,
it's just some. I really, actually, I mean, Frank always had fantastic musicians in his bands, and that includes his many guitar players. But I personally end up preferring the bands in which he was the only one playing guitar.
Sure.
Because of the tone, just what he plays makes me happy. And this is a perfect, the perfect example of it, I think.
Although I do like it when Jeff Simmons was there.
Oh yeah.
And added a little bit of rhythm guitar, because I do feel like it offered him a little bit more flexibility. But on the whole, I agree with you. And this is my favorite era of Zappa's music, like 73, 74. And I would point to like the KCET performance as being one of my very favorites. So yeah, I agree with your take there, Jaco. So yeah, we get a basic track mix of Sofa number 1, and then the master take early mix of Sofa number 1, 2. And that was very interesting. Like I was hearing a lot more George Duke, especially. Like I noticed that's like a theme with a lot of these early mixes and stuff, is it seems like the piano is a little higher in the mix.
Yeah, there's probably not much to say about this outtakes, the Sofa outtakes, because it's just a run through. It's an instrumental track anyway.
Yeah.
So
Gary says, I have to agree about George Duke. His entire catalog is must-have material. He left us way too soon. Yeah, I would agree with that. So yeah, we move on. We've got this old mix of Pajama People, which is really interesting. I listened to this a couple of times this week, and we get a little bit more of Frank's guitar playing here. And I always thought, see, the song Pajama People, it's not my favorite as a song, but I've always thought that Frank's guitar solo was like a composition in and of itself. And we do hear him trying a little bit more ideas, and we hear some interaction. Like I love that little moment at the end where George is like, this track is popping, man. Like, that brings a great smile to my face.
Yeah, I love the guitar solos on this song, and I never really noticed it as much until this box set came out. George's piano accompaniment on the second guitar solo just blows me away.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like that Uncle Remus thing of like gospel blues comping. Yeah.
And Tom Fowler too. Tom Fowler during the solo is playing some beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish he kept the very end of the song on the album, because it's just you can tell they had finished the take and they improvised that. The little burst at the end. I wish they kept that one. That made me smile when I heard it the first time.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to what's, Jaco and I were kind of talking about this, but I find these Florentine Pogen alternate solos to be one of the more fascinating parts of the box set, because obviously this is similar to how Hot Rats was constructed. He would have a live band in the studio and then go in and replace the guitar tracks until he had something he was happy with. And what's interesting about this is that he never released any of this stuff, of course, until, it's on token of his extreme, of course, but he ended up eliminating the guitar solo completely from Florentine Pogen. So it's really interesting that we get two alternate takes of that guitar solo. And Jaco, at first you were like, it's better than the KCET version. I'm like, I'm not sure. But after listening to it, it's definitely like maybe a better tone than what he used there. And I really dig it. And I always kind of personally felt like I wish that Florentine Pogen did go on another 5 minutes on the album version. What do you guys think about that?
For a long time, my favorite version of Florentine Pogen was the one that was done on the '88 tour. That was on was either on Best Band You Heard in Your Life or Make a Jazz Noise Here.
Yeah, best band.
Yeah.
Because Frank just he just goes off with that guitar solo.
But by the way, that guitar solo was recorded in Florence on the '88 album.
There you go.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I haven't revisited that in a long time, but yeah, I like that. It feels like, yeah, I agree with his choice. Like, I understand like the idea of like, let's just make the composition stand on its own, and proof that that was the right choice. You guys, we all love it as it is. But I always felt like, at least since hearing the KCET version for the first time 10 or 15 years ago, however long it was, I kind of always felt like, well, gee, where's the rest of it on the album? So it's really interesting to hear him trying different things.
I love the live versions of this one from the Bongo Fury tour, and I hope we're gonna get one on the box set when and if it comes out, because Frank was going mad on guitar on that tune from that tour.
Yeah.
Like it would do a little burst of solos during the composition itself, and Terry on drums was so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that the Bongo Fury set is more or less confirmed is happening. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I mentioned this.
I think there are persistent rumors about it, and some of which are pretty credible, but nothing official yet. But
Yeah.
I think it's very likely, personally.
Yeah, and I adore that album, and that's one observation that I made about One Size Fits All, is that I definitely feel like he was heading in that bluesier direction already with some of these songs. So I could see Florentine Pogen working perfectly with the Bongo Fury setup, because like I was listening to my friend and another YouTube colleague, Cody Brockway, who's been on the channel. I was listening to his radio show last night, and he segued Songs from the Wood into oh, I knew this would happen. Brain, what's the second song on Bongo Fury?
Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy.
Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy. He segued Songs from the Wood into Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy. Jeez. But when I was listening to it, I thought, well, gee, that could have fit on One Size Fits All. It kind of reminds me of San Bernardino or Andy a little bit, or indeed Florentine Pogen. So yeah, I hope we do get the Bongo Fury set. I hope that the multi-tracks exist, because I think a multi-channel mix of that would be unreal.
I think they're more or less confirmed to exist, but they are chopped up. Like Frank just physically spliced in the tapes as he often did.
Yeah.
To assemble the master of the album. I think everything should be there in one way or another. I mean, that's my understanding, at least.
So Tin Teardrop, which is a fantastic name, by the way. I was fortunate enough to meet and hang out with George Duke after a Zappa show in Boston. He was the nicest, sincere, funny guy with some great stories. I also loved his playing. Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing about that. I've met a few Zappa guys over the years. I'm sure you guys have bumped into some former members of Zappa's bands.
I think Bill met. You did meet some of them, right? You did meet, and you hosted podcasts with some of the Zappa band members, right?
Well, the only Zappa band member that I've worked with as a result of the Zappa cast was Art Tripp.
Oh,
and we've been trying to get some other people on, and we're working on it. But one person that I did meet, and I met Chester Thompson briefly.
Oh,
it was on the first solo tour of Phil Collins. I was reporting the show for a local magazine in the area, and I got to go to the backstage after party, and Chester was just sitting there just chilling, and I said, so what was playing like with Zappa like? Because his work in the Zappa band caused Phil to have him come and play with Genesis.
Yeah.
So I said, in a nutshell, how would you describe your experience with Zappa? And he says, it was like college. Just total learning experience.
Yeah. And back then, playing with Zappa meant you were employable for the next decades. Like that was just like, if you had that in your resume, you could get employed just about anywhere. But I bumped into a few members of Zappa's bands and people who've played with him on various projects over the years. Mike Keneally, I think I mentioned that. He's a buddy of mine. I've seen him a couple times and helped him out. I also met Eddie Jobson a few years back, and he was very nice to chat with. But yeah, let's pick up these studio sessions. So
all right. So,
we'll
so
talk briefly.
I'm not going to say which Zappa members I met.
Well, who did you meet, Jaco? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No worries about that. I only met Lou Marini.
Oh, right.
A couple of years ago, and I did ask him about the working with Zappa, and he told me the story that basically they were playing the Black Page #2 on stage, and Frank had told him to switch. He had to switch. I don't know what kind of instrument, but he was supposed to be playing that tune with an instrument instead of another, and he didn't do that. And Frank just said on stage, "All right, we're going to play this again because Lou Marini over there forgot to change instruments." And what makes things worse is that the take with the incorrect instrument is the one that ended up on the album. So Lou suffered for nothing, really.
Dave L says, I've been fortunate. I've met Ballou, Bozio, Cucarillo, Tom Fowler, Arthur Barrow, Keneally, Ike, Napoleon. Who's J.I.? Jim? Maybe Jimmy Carl Black? Yeah.
I'm gonna guess.
I did have a phone conversation with Ike a couple of times, but we won't talk about Ike. That's an off-air story. So yeah, let's pick up where we were. We do have this version of Evelyn, a Modified Dog, which is basically just the studio sessions, and it's kind of fun to hear the idea develop, and like the way that the melody was kind of organized, and hear Frank and George working that out is really interesting. And it also dawned on me while I was listening to it, hey, this might be the same sessions as the Muffin Man intro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I think that's a very correct observation.
Yeah.
And a little green rosetta on the leather version of the song, because it's Frank vocals on George on teckel piano, so it must be it.
Yeah, so it
about the leather version.
Yeah, the very beginning of it. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think I made this comment on my video as well, but it would be an interesting topic, is that I do kind of wish that the entirety of the Caribou sessions could have been included on this, because I think the Hot Rat sessions kind of spoiled me a little bit. I like the idea that we had the Hot Rat sessions, but we also had clues to Burnt Weenie Sandwich, Weasels Rip My Flesh, Chunga's Revenge. And I hope that at some point, there's plans to do like a Studio Dirt Hunch and Toot kind of box set. And I understand also why, Joe would of course choose to keep it just limited to stuff that's on the album. But as somebody who's interested in the history, I think the wider context of everything that had been recorded at that time, it could have been a fascinating box as well. Made a fascinating box even more fascinating, I guess is what I should say.
But I have a feeling that the Caribou sessions is probably more like a very large jigsaw puzzle.
Right.
As far as where the recordings ended up, it ended up, and the way that they were recorded. But I would love to hear it myself.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like something like Let Me Take You to the Beach, which is on one of those albums. I can't remember which one off the top of my head.
Studio 10.
Studio 10. Yeah. But that's on the Hot Rats Sessions box already. We already have those basic tracks. So the way he worked, whenever people use the phrase transitional album to kind of criticize a Zappa album, I think, well, aren't they all kind of transitional albums? Because he worked so fast and he moved so fast and he evolved so quickly. And I think one of Frank's talents was his ability to look at his work with objectivity and say, okay, this piece lands here. This belongs here. This would work better over here. So yeah, all that kind of stuff is really, really fascinating.
Yeah, that was something that Eddie Jobson had mentioned when he was interviewed about working with Zappa. I said that because Eddie remained exactly 1 year with Frank, and he ended up being on releases that came out years after he had left him. And he said that's just how Frank works,
Yeah.
You record something and it comes out 5 years later with different overdubs or something replaced. And I mean, the Planet of My Dreams on Demoras dates back from the Caribou sessions. So that one is a perfect example of what we're talking about, I think.
Yeah. So this section here, and I think, Bill, you mentioned that this is like 30 minutes of San Bernardino or something like that. Which, I mean, you got to be hardcore to sit through that in one sitting. And I confess that I did the first time, but the second time I listened to this, I broke it up a little bit just so that I could tell the difference. It starts to all run together in your head. But this rehearsal take of Bitch, 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 which was the original title and concept for San Bernardino, is so interesting. Because for one thing, it's 9.5 minutes long. And then the other thing is we have that Sleeping in the Jar interlude.
Yeah.
It keeps popping in. And I think, as you pointed out, or maybe it was the Cat Synth review pointed out, that it was actually a version of Sleeping in the Jar that wasn't released at that time. It was the early 70s. It was the Flo and Eddie arrangement that came from. So, I mean, this is an example of like an idea that's been floating around for a little bit that he's still trying to integrate. Sort of like Sofa. Sofa was an idea that had been dated back to the early 70s.
Even Inca Roads, the past solo version, I mean, Inca Roads in general, but the melody they play after the guitar solo comes from Strictly Gentile. So that's something that Frank would do, would often do that.
Yeah. And Johnny B says, bitch times 3. I think that's what we're going to call it from now on. Rehearsal is possibly the highlight of the studio section for me. And yeah, what amazes me is just how good it sounds. Like Frank recorded it to 4-track. Craig Parker Adams mixed it, and it sounds as good as any studio track to me. And we get to hear Jeff Simmons. Like anytime we get to hear Jeff Simmons, I'm happy. So, but yeah, it's really fascinating to hear how this evolves. And, we're still not sure when this comes from, because Joe says that based on the dates and everything, like Jeff was long out of the band by then. So it kind of like in my head canon, it places it somewhere around the Cheaper Than Cheap performance.
Yeah, I think Jeff left the band less than a month after Cheaper Than Cheap.
Yeah.
Recorded.
Yeah, so I mean, it must be from around that time, or maybe those rehearsals or something. But what a fascinating nugget, and I agree with what Johnny says, that's one of my favorite things on the set, or at least one of the most memorable things on the set.
I also love the basic tracks version because it's like a funk version of San Bernardino. The ending of it is fantastic. Oh, the George Duke synth tone on that studio outtake. I kind of wish, I love the album version of it, but sometimes I kind of wish that he had kept elements of Bitch, Bitch, Bitch on it. It's great.
Yeah, and I do enjoy the 3 rough mixes that we get of San Bernardino, because we hear him playing around with different ideas, different lyrics. Some of them are a little bit longer and have extended sections. Anytime I get to hear a Napoleon Murphy Brock vocal that's new to me for the first time, it's very special. So I like hearing Napoleon try out different things. I think we even get a version here that's pre Johnny Guitar Watson, right?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, and then he's added later, and I think Bill, you mentioned on your review that by the third mix, he's actually up in the mix a
Yeah.
little bit. And I've never been fully able to understand what Johnny's singing on that section. It's a little bit unintelligible. So, and for effect, I think that's purposeful. But I do appreciate being able to hear that a little bit better because it's a fantastic performance from one of Frank's heroes.
Mhm.
And a kind of an observation I've had. I'm not a Watson, like I don't know his work very well, but I feel like some of Frank's lead playing is definitely owes something to Johnny guitar on this particular track. So that was a cool connection that he made there.
I think Johnny has an interesting question here about rough mix number 1. Because he's asking above that he's asking if it's actually an alternate version, because I thought about that myself, but I think especially during the second part I did recognize elements of the album version on it, so I don't really know what's going on there. I would say it's the original backing track, but then it got overdubbed so much that it doesn't resemble it anymore. But that's my opinion, personally.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear this stuff and just hear how it grew, and that's a good segue because we get Something Anything, which is the original version of Andy, and I was kind of surprised at just how much of Something Anything does end up in the final version, because you have that refrain where Napoleon's singing something, that still carried through. But yeah, really, really interesting to hear that version. And I know we did get a live version of it on the Apostrophe set that was kind of like this, but I don't remember hearing, it's been a while since I heard it.
It was titled, Is There Anything Good Inside of You?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and one interesting, I was wondering while listening to the stuff if this kind of things are preserved on the multi-tracks, because all of the elements that are on the rough mixes that didn't end up on the album, like the alternate guitar solos or Napoleon's vocals on Something Anything, I wonder if they're still on the multi-tracks somewhere, or if Frank just wiped them when he recorded new stuff.
That would be a question, I think, for Eric Goebel and Karma Auger, because they were just, they just mixed it for Atmos and 5.1. So, I honestly, I would love to read an interview with them or even chat with them if I had the opportunity to, because I'm sure that those multi-tracks are fascinating to work with. Johnny B, wait a minute, sorry, Z. Says there is a forthcoming Zappa, I guess, bootleg coming out soon. Greatest Hits live. Can anyone confirm it's a boot or an official? I mean, I can't confirm it, but I'm going to say it's a bootleg because
Absolutely.
they just did an official release. So I don't think they would do another one so quickly.
Yeah, that's just usual stuff stolen from the net and repackaged in a way that looks half official. Avoid that. Don't
probably stolen from Zappateers.
Yeah,
would be my guess. So Gary says Johnny Guitar Watson's vocals on "I Don't Really Care" on the import album of Zappa Meets the Mothers of Prevention is brilliant. And I made another connection to 80s Zappa, and it might have been, I think it was Andy, when I was listening to the Atmos mix of Andy, and I noticed that Johnny Guitar's got a lot of harmonies in the back channels that have never been apparent to me. And I wrote Jaco and said, hey, doesn't this kind of sound a little like Brown Moses? Like, this is cool.
This one is interesting because, of course, on the CD, the bass drum. Hey, sorry, can you move that the message, because it's covering my face? It's been bugging me.
I'll tell you what, I think I can pull the, sorry about that.
All right. All right, I was on the CD versions of You Cannot Stage Anymore Volume 2, the bass drum, the kick drum is obviously a sample, and I think Mark Pinsky commented on that. But I did hear a vinyl rip of it, where it's obviously the original bass drum. And apparently not every vinyl edition of it has this oddity here. So that's interesting. That's something to investigate.
Really? There
Yeah.
must be two mixes of it or two masters of it.
Yeah,
I've got the vinyl of it, and it doesn't sound like it's been it's the original bass drum to me. I think it's the same on both, but you never know. It also could be one person's opinion over another.
Yeah.
Well, I think I have a 30-second sample of it somewhere.
Good.
So I will play that to you later, so you can tell me what you think about that.
Okay.
Because I think it goes side by side. Like first you hear the CD, and then you hear the LP, and it's completely different. But only the kick drum, the rest sounds the same, like the same mix. And also, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah. But the only comment I had on this is that whenever people on the web say, "Oh, we're oversaturated by 1974 Zappa, and we need to move on," I think, well, okay, we can move on, but first we need the Helsinki run complete. We need the Roxy Meltzer quad. I want to hear that mix. And what did you say, Jaco?
The rest of the Caribou and Record
The rest of the Caribou sessions. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Gregory Peccary. We need that.
I want a whole disc of Gregory Peccary. Is that too much to ask? 75 minutes of Gregory Peccary.
I'm sure that if the Vaultmeister had his way, all that stuff would be out.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely, yeah. When we get those three things, then we can talk about moving on to 75. Because the Bongo Fury set, I do hope we get that before the end of the year. I would like to see some stuff with Zoodalores, but I guess we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, probably in a couple of years.
Zeb says, and the 70 CD box set of leather.
Oh my God.
Well, I kind of feel like we're going to get that eventually. Like if we do deluxe editions of all these individual albums, eventually we're going to get a leather kind of by proxy, because a lot of that material came from that.
We already got some of it, like
with the New York
orchestral favorites too.
Orchestral favorites, which is a release I need to get. That's
really?
what I'm missing. Yeah, I don't have the orchestral favorites
50th. It's pretty nice. It's a little bit rough in places. In some of it is a little bit rough, but there's the bit of it where Frank plays a lead guitar is amazing. Rollo, Black Napkins. So yeah.
Well, I love that, and we're getting off topic already here, but I do love that particular timbre when Frank's got the orchestra behind him and he's wailing. And I know it's a studio overdub, but the Duke of Orchestral Prunes is one of my very favorite things he's ever done.
Yeah,
with the big wall of feedback and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. So was there anything we wanted to say about the studio sessions before we move on to the live discs?
We skipped Sofa number 2.
Right. Yeah, did you have anything to say about that? Because I listened to it and I didn't really hear that much difference, but we do get an alternate mix of that, a rough mix of it.
There are some differences here and there. It's not one of the most extreme tracks, but I just wanted to mention that I really love Sofa number 2 because it's something that Frank would do, like writing a beautiful melody and then put something grotesque over it. It's just so very Frank-like. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess my comment about Sofa is that, or Sofa number 2, is that for years I thought that it didn't belong on the album. That it's like, oh, we could have had 5 minutes of the Florentine Pogen jam if we would have dropped Sofa number 2, and we don't really need it. But the thing is that when I was sat down and listened to this in the multi-channel mix, I realized, like, I had an epiphany on Sofa number 2, because adding those vocals and adding those harmonies and those textures makes it a different song. It completely changes it. But I also like the thematic material of connecting back to side 1, connecting back to the front cover. And of course, OSFA is an anagram of sofa. So it all kind of ties in to the conceptual thing, and it's different enough. And I also love it. Like it's one of my personal favorite Frank motifs when he uses the sped up vocals. Like the Uncle Meat album's one of my favorites. Whirling for the Money's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And recently I've started digging into the quad mixes of like Overnight Sensation and Apostrophe, and the ending of Montana when they're doing the dental floss
Yeah.
thing. And there's something about the quad mix, the way that that's mixed is like, it's almost like sick. Like it's like a really sick sense of humor to it that I just absolutely love.
Are there
Yeah,
are the vocals on Sofa speed up or slow down though?
I
Because
think maybe both.
I thought they were just gonna making operative vocals, but I
didn't
don't know.
think they're sped up, but maybe they are.
I thought so because I don't really recognize who's singing. Like I can hear George and I
Yeah,
can hear Frank in some stuff, but
there's a lot of Napoleon there.
Yeah,
the
but-
bassier vocals.
but they're almost unrecognizable. Whatever the treatment is,
Mhm.
you know, they sound like alien voices.
The first time I heard those vocals, because when I was a kid, I was really listening to Frank Zappa, which explains why I'm so fucked up these days. But the Son of Cheap Trails compilation has just came out, and my father bought it for me. And there's Hia Hosnia on it.
Yeah,
And that
right.
was the first time I heard those vocals, and since I didn't speak English, I didn't even know they were backwards. I just thought it was regular English or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I got One Size Fits All for the first time, was okay, that's from where that comes from.
Right. Yeah, and there's a little bit of Valley Girl outtakes, I think, too. In
And
Hosna.
Lonely Little Girl too, I think.
I didn't know about that one. But Johnny B says anybody disappointed that Helsinki wasn't in the box needs to realize that the chances are much higher for more releases if they save the big stuff for individual releases and put the road tapes here. And I think you're right. I think it's totally a marketing choice. As a fan, yeah, I would have loved it if they would have doubled the price and included 4 discs of Helsinki. I'd have flipped out. But I do understand the idea that you have to market it, you have to sell it, and it's easier to sell. We have a complete run of Frank Zappa's famous Helsinki concerts, and you can buy them all here in one box set. Yeah, it would be easier to sell that way for sure. James Gilbert, good afternoon, gentlemen. Loving the set. I appreciate your deep dive. Well, we appreciate you, James. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, anyone who has a South Park image profile is a friend of mine, so good things.
Good deal. And my buddy Eric says, hey there, fellers. Hello to you and Finbot. Good to see you, man. Eric does my cover designs, and he's been a guest on the channel before. So Eric's a good man.
Really talented guy.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, he says, my box will be in the post box in about an hour. So cool. Well, we might spoil some of it for you, Eric. So I'm sorry, but you might have to put it on at the same time as you're listening to us. It's kind of like a running commentary. So we're going to move on to the live set, which is interesting. And kind of my overall comment about the live material is that if you love the exploratory side of Frank, you never know what's going to happen next, you're going to love this set.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys agree with that?
Oh yeah, wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And even though we get some familiar tunes in the first half, like Stinkfoot, Inca Roads, Cosmic Debris, and Montana, and Redunzel, these are very different versions. And like Bill, as you pointed out on your review, there's different lyrics on Cosmic Debris. And that I went back and listened to it. I was like, holy crap.
A whole verse that George sings. I don't know if he improvised that or what.
Yeah, they're improvised. Yeah, I think during this European tour, there's he would do that. I really love this show. I think it's out of the 3 full 74 shows. I mean, 4 shows if you count Cheaper Than Cheap. This one is the best of them all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think this is a more inspired performance than Erie or Dayton. Well, of course, Frank wasn't feeling well on Erie, so that's understandable. But I've always
got one of my favorite moments, though, when he sings "Trouble Every Day" and he goes, "I'm about to get sick. I am sick."
Yeah, yeah. There's also a rather nice Dupree's Paradise on Erie. Yeah, which is I mean, those are good shows, but this one is much better. I think it's from a time where Frank's band sounded more. Maybe I don't want to say inspired, but those shows generally felt better to me.
Yeah.
The only slight letdown for me is that Inca Roads on this particular show here, because the bit at the end where Ruth can't seem to do the transition after the solo, and Frank keeps making her do that again over and over. I mean, it was fun to hear it once, but it really breaks the flow a little bit once you play that back another time.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on my review, and it's probably going to be sacrilege, like torches and pitchforks. But if I were producing the set, I think I would have sliced some of that out. I think I would have just cut right to her nailing it. Yeah, see what I mean? I totally understand people like who want the warts and all thing.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I'm also a producer, so I'm thinking about presentation and listening to it again and again. And yeah, Frank did this thing where if somebody made a mistake, he'd stop the band. I just heard Steve Vai telling Billy Corgan about this on his podcast, which I shared with both of you this morning. But yeah, Frank would humiliate musicians in front of everyone if they made a single mistake like that. And there's a great moment in the new footage from KCET where George is going crazy on that Inca Road solo. And you see Frank kind of communicating with Ruth non-verbally, like they're doing something with their eyes and stuff. And Ruth's got her mallets in her hands and she's praying, please take it easy on me. Give me a break. And Frank's like, fast, take it fast.
There's a moment like that on You Cannot Stage Anymore Volume 2, Montana. It says, it's too fast for you.
You slow the whole thing down.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it certainly, it makes it entertaining for us. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't talk about with Frank is just how entertaining his shows could be. And this show especially, I think, is very, very entertaining. And a couple of things I wanted to highlight here in the track list before we move on to disc 2, which somebody said something about exploratory Frank is music to my ears. Well, disc 2, or I'm sorry, not disc 2, disc 4. Disc 4 is going to be your jam. But we get a really nice version of Florentine Pogen here.
Yeah.
Which I love to hear. I'm not used to hearing too many vintage versions of that song. So I really liked hearing it. And it is the arrangement that we get KCET in the album version.
Yep.
But also this Redunzel Smokes. It's a wonderful version of that. And I mentioned this also in my review, but Montana is one of those songs that after a while I start going, I've heard a million versions of this. Do I need to hear another? And the solo section for this redeemed it for me because it was almost like a group improvisation, sort of similar to the band Can in a way, like where Frank and George were like operating on some sort of level of organism, like just sharing a brain in this solo section. So it was really, really exciting listen. And I'd be curious your guys' feedback on that. And then we do have a couple of comments that we need to address.
Montana or
just comments on the whole first disc in general, anything that I said there.
Well, you can go first, Bill, because I got to check a couple of things on the booklet.
Okay. I liked the observation you made about Can. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that before. Because I'm not deeply into Can, but I do have enough of their records to make a dent. And yeah, I can see where that does fit.
Yeah. Well, Can actually are on record as saying that the two like most important rock bands to them were the Mothers and the Velvet Underground. Mm-hmm. And they talk about seeing the Mothers in 1968. And it's like, listen to Help I'm a Rock, like any of those versions from back then. And I feel like you can hear Can, maybe where they got some of their ethos from. But Bill, you had a question from Z. Do you know if there exists more than Basement Music 1 and 2? I don't know what he's talking about.
Let's see. I think you're talking back to the Funky Nothingness.
No, Lost Episodes. last episode. It's the Frank on synthesizer.
Oh,
So you
um,
know,
I do not know. The person to ask about that is Joe Travers.
I think Frank mentioned recording 30 minutes of that. So unless he throw away the tapes, maybe something else is there. You don't know that one, Ian?
I'm not familiar with it, but I think Johnny B might be answering that. He says it's called Leather Outtakes on Zappateers, but it's just an odd build reel mixtape that leaked out and probably had no title, not a commercial bootleg. Is he referring to that same thing?
I think so. Yeah, there's some more of it. I think on it. It's been a long while since I last played that.
Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, Leather Outtakes bootleg. Yeah, that's the one. There's something here about. Oh yeah, the comment. Hard to find a weak Ridanzo, because that was gonna be my comment on on that song.
Yeah, that's true.
And I absolutely love the '82 version of it with Steve Vai. There's that Palermo video floating around, which is amazing.
Yeah,
And we absolutely need an Italy '82 kind of release.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
been saying
by
that.
the way, Bill, something that I wanted to show you. I don't know if you can see that from back there. Can you see the pic over there? There's a frame pic.
It looks like a fly. Let's see if I can. Can I?
Yeah,
Can I?
Make them full screen.
Yeah. How do I?
No, dude. What the hell?
There
is
you
that?
go.
Oh, that's only. Can you see that?
I see your finger over it.
What about
What is
now?
it?
Oh, that's the pic Frank used in Bologna in 1982.
Oh, okay.
That's framed in my room. So we have. I really want an Italy '82 release.
The guitar pick, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
how did you've told that story before, but how did you end up with that?
I just know a guy who would pretend to be part of the road cruise every show he attended. Like he would just go there, and he asked every guitar player for his pick, and it just Frank. You know, he asked Frank his pick, and Frank just handed it to him without saying a word and went away. And he said that the only guitar player that refused to give him the pick was John McLaughlin. He didn't want to. And I
Must
think
have been running out or something.
and someone else. Oh yeah, Papa Chubby once. He gave him the pick, and then he found out that he had no other picks to play the anchor, so he took that back.
Is that Zappa pick a heavy pick? Does it say heavy on it?
Can I? I mean, I guess I could pull it down and show that to you because I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Yeah, while you do that, I'm gonna handle a couple comments here.
Yeah.
So I want to say hello to Barry from Classic Album Review. And Barry asks, when is this released? Must get myself a copy. And yes, you must. The release date was, well, the ship date was August 2nd if you buy from the Zappa store or you Discover Music. But I believe that the wide release is not until the end of September.
It is a heavy. Yes. Because I saw many years ago, there was a magazine that had a feature about a guy who collected rock and roll guitar picks, and it just had a whole bunch of pictures of picks and the names of everybody. So like Rick Nielsen, who throws out dozens of guitar picks every time Cheap Trick plays, but at the very end it had Zappa and it just said Fender heavy. Very cool. That proves its legitimacy.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's probably a good time as any to mention that Bill is the only one here who's actually spoken with Frank. Isn't that right?
Twice.
Yeah. Because that's actually how I discovered your channel, is when you posted that late 80s interview.
Oh, okay.
And that was so lovely to hear. It was just great to hear a Frank interview I'd never listened to before. And what impressed me about that is that I could tell Frank really enjoyed chatting with you. And like, you asked really good questions and stuff. So I would urge anybody who's watching this, if you're familiar with Bill's content or not, go check that interview, that phone interview out, because that was a great conversation.
Well, I was scared shitless.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Dave L says a friend of mine has one of Frank's old speaker cabs. He found fingernail clippings inside of it. Could be Frank's. We could clone him. Let's clone Frank.
I'm not sure I am that much of a hardcore fan too.
Well, speaking of hardcore fans, Z says he might own Zappa's underwear from 1978.
An early version of the quilt.
Yeah, it's gonna...
Oh, God.
Making a quilt. All right. So to avoid any further awkwardness, or perhaps encourage further awkwardness, let's talk about disc 4, the second half of the Rotterdam, Netherlands show. So for I think it was Johnny said that Exploratory Frank it opens his ears up. He's ready for that. And this is the disc for you, man. Because we start with, is this the longest version of Dupree's Paradise that's been released?
I think there's a couple of different versions that are around a half an hour or
okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Erie version of it is longer.
Okay.
For one.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've heard it, but I just was... to me, it's like whenever Dupree's Paradise is in the track list, I get excited because it always ends up being the centerpiece of any Frank show because, again, you never know what's going to happen. Frank could go off on a tangent for 15 minutes and he could play anything from an old Wilson Pickett cover to, predicting songs that wouldn't come out for another couple years. In this case, we hear the bones of Zoodalores. At one point. Spoilers for those of you who haven't heard it yet, but that stuff is just really fascinating to just kind of hear his fingers hitting those, those chord shapes and stuff and finding that stuff. And Joe mentions that chord sequence shows up several times throughout the tour, but I just love this idea that he was always working on stuff. Stuff was always in flux. You look at a song like Inca Roads. I mentioned at the top of the stream that the first time I heard it was like, where does this come from? Well, it came from a year of just working it out, and this sort of stuff, these little fascinating continuity bits are what makes, or one of the things that makes being a Zappa fan so much fun. But yeah, so what do you guys think of this Dupree's Paradise?
Oh, it's sick. Completely sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad they have started releasing all those tapes from this era because I think the version of Dupree's Paradise that's on the Helsinki release is a little bit of a letdown, possibly because Frank, edited things back in, it just shuffled things around. But those versions are fantastic. This is, as you said, those are pretty much the highlights of the shows. Because anything can happen on them. I mean, even on the Erie show. And by the way, earlier when I said that the Erie version was longer, I meant the Edinburgh version. By the way, I just, Johnny pointed that out.
Yeah.
And even the Erie version of it, so it's a kind of a substandard show, is incredible. And I mean, just the introductions of it alone are worth the price of the whole thing. Because Nappy and George are so funny, and there are a lot of weird things musically happening. So, incidentally, have you guys heard the Billy Cobham and George Duke Band live album?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes,
Hello?
I have.
Hey. All right. Okay. I froze. I'm sorry. I froze.
He's having some connections there.
There's a song called Space.
Yeah, he's having some internet connection issues.
Come on.
Am I back in?
I think so.
You are. I'm going to go grab that record because it's right over here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. No, I'm not familiar with this record. And to be honest with you, I'm a Billy Cobham novice. I'm the guy who has 2 copies of Spectrum and hasn't heard either one of them. So.
Well, there's a song called Space. I think it's called Space Lady.
Yes,
which is it's pretty much sounds like those introductions of.
I've seen that cover. Yeah. Yeah, I
it sounds
probably
like
that.
those Dupree's Paradise introductions.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
Frank's
love it when
legacy
George
on,
gets.
on
Hmm?
no, I was just going to say that Frank's influence on George Duke lasted way after he left the band,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. Well,
Well,
it seemed like what were we gonna say, Bill? I'm sorry.
George had two different tours of time with Frank. There was the time in 1970,
Right.
and then he left and he played with Cannonball Adderley, and then he came back to the Mothers. And I've got a Cannonball Adderley album where George is just like, this is more George Duke record than it is a Cannonball Adderley album.
Hmm.
It's amazing stuff.
That yeah, I'd love to hear that.
What's the name of the
I admit.
album?
Pardon?
What's the name of the album?
Hold on. It was a record store day thing. I think about 2 years back. Let me grab it. It's right.
Bill goes to the archives.
There it is. Yeah, it's lucky that I'm in my record room.
Right.
Poppin' in Paris, live at Olympia, 1972.
I gotta get this one.
Yeah. It's a vinyl only release, or can you get
I
it?
believe this is also available on CD. It's on, I think, Zev Feldman's label. It's from Elemental Music. And that's the label, Elemental Music.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of George Duke's music, or his contribution to Frank's music, of course. And I dabble in keyboards, and piano. So, a great piano player is always going to resonate with me. Like Jaco and I will talk wax poetically about Tony Banks, for instance. Like that's another guy I love to listen to. But again, like we're talking about Dupree's Paradise, like the fact that it always starts with George telling the story. And, in this case, we get that Three Blind Mice thing, which is so much fun. And when Ruth's doing the blind mice thing, and I'm not a music theory expert, but it almost sounds like they're trying to fit like 2 meters on top of each other or something. But it's really, really fun. Yeah. Now, what we haven't talked about too much is the sound quality of this show, because I think that it's been somewhat controversial. Like some people say, like, oh, it's really difficult to listen to. And I didn't find it so. I just thought that, Frank's, as Joe says in the liner notes, Frank's guitar is a little edgy. But I kind of like it. I kind of like my Frank guitar a little edgy.
I called it razor sharp.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very,
That's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the actor? I'm totally blanking today. Sling Blade guy said that in the documentary.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton. I want to call him Jimmy Carl Black. Billy Bob Thornton said Frank's guitar at this time was like razor blades cutting through the arrangements. And absolutely, I agree with that.
Well, those are 4 tracks recordings, so they are going to sound a little bit rougher
Sure.
at least than 8. I think this one sounds. I think it sounds fine, and it gets better as it goes on. Because Frank's tone, it becomes more pleasant by the second part of the show. Well, I think in general those 4 tracks recordings sound pretty neat for what they are. I mean,
Sure.
at least the way they released them.
Yeah, and
very well recorded.
Bill, were you the one who pointed out that it's like practically a mono mix?
I was about to say that. Yeah, when I first started listening to it, it was on headphones, and I'm thinking, is this in mono? And so I'm flipping the mono stereo switch back and forth, and it's like, no, it's not mono. It's close, but I'm guessing that that was a mixing decision that Craig Parker Adams made, that if they're a little bit closer together, but not exactly one channel, that will enhance it a bit.
Yeah.
I think
I've had sorry.
Colorado Springs, the Colorado Springs 74 show on the Apostrophe box set is very narrow stereo. I mean, very close to mono, and it sounds great, by the way.
Yeah, I had one experience where I was mixing a show for the Muffins. It was like an archival release, and we didn't have a great drum sound on it. We had 2 sax tracks that, the guys out front, and my overheads were basically what were bleeding onto the sax tracks, and the bass track would just kind of come and go. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up mixing all the drum tracks straight down the middle, and I just panned the saxophones just a little bit to match their stage positioning. and it's effectively a very narrow stereo mix or a mono mix. And I was kind of surprised that I've gotten more compliments on that mix than any of the like super elaborate stereo mixes that I've done over the years. I definitely think that mixing it, like you said, like a narrow stereo was the right choice for something like this. But there seems to be some disagreement here. Johnny B says doesn't sound mono to me.
That's because it's not.
he couldn't mix it mono if he wanted to. The music is all on 2 tracks in stereo. So I don't know. It didn't strike me as like a mono mix when I was listening to it. But one of the things that I noticed is that Chester Thompson sounds absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he does.
Like you can feel his kick drum, and those toms are just nicely separated out. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with the way this sounds. And I saw one comment on a forum that I won't name, where somebody's like, "This is unlistenable." And when I sat down and listened, I was like, "Really?"
Yeah, but I've seen that kind of thing happening with almost every live recording from the 70s. I mean, up to official albums, there are people that think that Jethro Tull's Bursting Out is an unlistenable mess, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about, or what they expect live music to sound like.
That's what it is. It's expectations. Their expectations are not being met, and their expectations, I guess, are for something super clean and sparkly and audiophile. And it's like, do you even want that out of a 70s concert, or do you want it to be a little bit more real? So, remind me who this person is, Jaco.
Oh, that's Folk Freak from the Steve Hoffman forums. Hey,
Folk Freak.
Oh, okay.
Folk Freak says I still miss the Road Tapes series, and it still exists, really.
Yeah, it's just not under that name, but I think we had a lot. We releases right now are raw tapes.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and you cut in and out a little bit.
Again?
Yeah, a little bit, but we heard what you said, that the road tapes here, and I think I've seen Joe mention this in interviews, that the road tape series is kind of being absorbed into other releases. So yeah, it's still out there. It's just not being marketed as road tapes. Yeah, it's what Johnny says. Road tapes was absorbed into the deluxe set. Absolutely correct. So was there anything else we want to talk about this show? This is a great version of Pygmy Twilight.
Yeah.
Which is, one of my favorites from the era. The Helsinki arrangement of that is probably my favorite arrangement, and it's very similar here. But this is an opportunity for Frank to really...
It's not my favorite arrangement.
Yeah? Yeah, he's having internet trouble. He'll be back.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, he's gone now.
He'll be back.
Oops, he'll be back. Reset your router. So yeah, what did you think of this Pygmy Twilight? Do you prefer the faster arrangement like we hear on the Roxy and Elsewhere album, or do you prefer the more slow riffy version?
I like them both ways. I like where they were working in the Monkey Time, which is hit by Major Lance, written by Curtis Mayfield. They go into that, and they go right back into it at the end as well. Oh, here we go.
Hey, he's back.
Are you
I
back?
don't know what the hell's going on.
His
here.
internet is. Are you back? You freezing?
But the only other thing that I wanted to mention about that, and this happened, I think, on one of the concerts that was part of the Apostrophe set, George breaks into that Mozart piano concerto thing, which is also something that was used by Raymond Scott for the Looney Tunes cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
And he breaks into that.
And that's on Helsinki too, I think. He has that little interlude.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Damn it. Come on, Jaco, you can do it.
Yeah, he can do it. He just here. I'm going to write him. I have his cell.
Okay.
Reset your router. Because I don't think it's on our end. Because we're rocking here, so I don't think it's me. But yeah, just give him a moment here to figure his stuff out. Johnny says, "Poor Jaco, he's going to be mad." Yeah, he is, and for good reason. I'm going to remove from the stage for now. But yeah, what I noticed too is that I think on the Helsinki version, he's not climbing up, the different keys and stuff.
Yes.
He just plays one iteration of it, and then they slam back into the solo.
Yeah. But hopefully, if we'll get him back, and we can also talk about those 2 tracks from Sweden.
Yeah, those are really interesting. Let me refresh my memory on what those are. Yeah. We get Ralph Stuffs His Shoes and Pajama People.
Yep. And I was digging around in my in my list of bootlegs, and I think I've got that complete show someplace.
Oh, the Gothenburg.
Yeah.
Sweden. Okay.
So I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, well, some of that shows up on the Apostrophe set too. Isn't there like a guitar solo or something from that, or is that a different year?
I don't know, and my CDs are in the next room, so I can't go and check that out.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool to get 2 rare songs like. Okay, Gothenburg bootleg is just the encore.
Okay.
So I'm not a bootleg expert. Actually, we do have a bootleg expert, but his connection's not working, which sucks. But yeah, I think Jaco's heard every Zappa bootleg that exists. But yeah, it's great to hear 2 songs that you don't hear very often, because I think there was like a Pajama People that was on one of the road tapes, but it was very sparse, and I think it was just some of the lyrics.
Yeah, very, 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 just the very roots of the song.
Yeah,
and he was just playing around with it and said, "Hey, let's try this tonight." Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do like these 2 tracks as just little pieces of the puzzle of how the songs came together.
Right. And I think we're hearing them like only a month or 2 before they went to Caribou Ranch to record them. And I always kind of got the sense that, like Pajama People and largely a lot of this material was worked out in the studio. So, it's kind of cool to hear those early versions, like as they're about to work them out. So here he is. He's back.
Am I?
Yay!
Yay! We're receiving you.
Oh, God. I think it's probably overheating here. That's probably why. Yeah.
That sucks. Put a fan on your modem, on your router.
Yes.
Just run a little fan on it.
I was about to hit it with a hammer or something like that, but it seems like yeah. What did I miss? Except for some very funny comments here. Oh, the porn tops guy again. Hey man, you're funny.
What did you say? I'll laugh later.
And it's doing it again.
Yeah, a little bit.
We were talking about Pygmy Twilight
Wait
when you were having that trouble.
I'm gonna try and join from the mobile.
All right, I'm gonna pull you off the stage.
I think so. I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I think he's gonna try his phone. But we'll see. Yeah, somebody mentions, Johnny said there's no bass on the 2 Gothenburg tracks, and yeah, that's indicated in the liner notes that there was no bass track available. Actually, I didn't know this. Zappa had Patrick O'Hearn overdub bass from a few solos from that show, and one overdub formed the basis for Rubber Shirt on Shake Your Booty. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, with the xenochrony method that Frank pretty much invented.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because for years I thought that the Helsinki solo in Inca Roads was xenochrony derived. But it wasn't until hearing this Atmos version that I was like, oh no, he cut in the entirety of the Helsinki performance, because you can hear Bruce Fowler or Tom Fowler interacting with his leads in a really like they're like mind meld kind of way. So yeah, it's interesting you should mention that, because I always thought that the first time that showed up was actually on this album. But I think that we don't get that until Zoodalores, with is it Friendly Little Finger, I think is maybe the first example of that. I've always been really interested in the Xenochrony
And then
thing.
a whole bunch of the solos on Joe's Garage.
Yeah. Most, if not all of them, I believe.
If not
Most. Yeah, I think maybe Watermelon Easter Hay is like a studio solo, but I think the rest is like, especially On the Bus, because we've heard that that Occam's Razor cut. But I'm basically just riffing until we get Jaco back, because I don't want to move on without him.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I didn't see if I had a message from him. But yeah, I guess we could react to a couple comments here. I want to say hello to Prague Hat.
Hello, Prague Hat.
Good to see you. Are any of these the Beat the Boot series on these Zappa sets like one size fits all? No, this is totally different.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Jaco Mobile.
Yeah.
Yay.
I think,
Jaco.
can you hear me fine?
Yeah, are you in the back of a car? No, I'm just kidding.
No. I'm so sorry. I think something is probably, as I was telling you about, it's probably overheating or something like that, because I can't get it to work.
But yeah, we got you loud and clear now.
All right. That's fine. I guess I'm going to be on mobile phone then.
Yeah, it's all right, man. So where did we leave you? We were talking about
Pygmy Twilight.
Pygmy Twilight. So you were going to, I asked Bill if he preferred the kind of the Roxy band arrangement of Pygmy Twilight, or the kind of more riffy, slowed down, the doomy, we'll call it the doomy version of Pygmy Twilight. And you have a very strong opinion on this. So what are your thoughts?
I think the Roxy version is my favorite. The Edinburgh version, actually, that one is my absolute favorite. I'm not really a fan of the slow version, except for the improvised bits. I don't know why Frank changed it that way, but I'm not really a big fan of it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did we talk about Approximate, by the way? I think
we didn't talk about Approximate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we should drift back to that. Your mic volume is like a little bit hot and distorted. Can you back off like 10%?
Oh, because it's this one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
It's like 10% less.
I don't know if I can do that.
Frank would be saying we're so professional.
Yeah, good God.
Good
hey,
God.
Can you do that?
Yeah,
it doesn't let me do that. I'm so sorry for all these technical fuck ups.
I can do that. Okay. We'll just bump you down to like 90 or so. All right. So tell me about Approximate.
Well, I think that's one of the centerpieces of those particular shows. Because you get, it's always funny. I mean, we don't get the visuals here because we don't get to see the dance. But the song itself is sick. There are a lot of interesting solos, and it's just the pace of the track that gets me. So that one was fun to hear.
Yeah, I always enjoy it. I've enjoyed it since the KCET performance. The only thing I think that there's the visual element that's lacking with a song like Approximate. But I mean, again, it's sort of like Dupree's Paradise. Like every version is a little bit different, and of course, it showed up with like the Purple Lagoon as its own kind of different, separate thing.
Yep.
So it's cool to hear any version. Johnny B says not a weak version in this Rotterdam show, in my opinion. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So is there anything else we want to talk about with the show? Now, Bill and I were talking a little bit about the extras, the Gothenburg stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a bootleg of that one going around the full show. Yeah, and I think we should expect more of that happening in the future, because that was the only show where they played Flambe live. That was so I think we're gonna hear that at least. And I don't know if you guys talked about that, but the bassist it was not recorded on the 4th track.
Right.
We mentioned that.
Okay, all right. Because
Well,
I can't see the comments here from mobile.
Well, I'm going to mention, because Johnny has mentioned, and a nice surprise that we've gotten part of the show before, Bathtub Man. And yeah, he's mentioned that a couple of times, but that's the solo from, what is that? Is that Inca?
Bathtub Man. No, that's Cosmic Debris.
Cosmic Debris. Okay.
Yeah. The Inca, I think the Inca Road solo is the bass track, because Patrick O'Hearn did overdubs, and that one ended up on Rubber Shirt.
Yeah, and that was mentioned in our comments. Somebody says,
Okay.
QTube says, Jaco, turn off all apps on all your devices. Are you running?
No, absolutely not. It's just an old computer that's not responding well to the heat, so we're stuck with this. And I will have to change that. That's another reason I can't be I will never be a streamer, because I can't handle all those technical difficulties. But mobile phone seems to be doing fine. So
in a couple of weeks it'll be cooler, so you'll be all right, hopefully. So is there anything else we want to talk about with these live discs? Because there's a little bit of stuff on the Blu-ray, but of course you don't have a Blu-ray player, so we'll just kind of talk about, me and Bill maybe cover that just briefly. And we might wrap up soon, because we're hitting almost at the 90-minute mark. But any other observations, any comments, any questions about the live show from the Peanut Gallery?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I'm sorry, Bill, go on.
You go.
No, one thing that I wanted to mention is that Frank played a lot of great shows on that particular venue. There's an absolutely monster show from 1971, for example, and another one from 82 that I think those are top Zappa tapes, to get. So it's not surprising to me that this particular show turned out so well.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be something about that particular audience. Maybe that there was a lot of regulars coming back that kind of fed off the energy of the band. Who knows? But yeah, I know what you mean. Like I think that there's a Rotterdam 80 bootleg that floats around that I've kind of bumped into a few times. So,
yeah, that was a radio broadcast. Yeah, absolutely, that one too.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the Blu-ray content a little bit, and let's see what we got here. So, of course, there's the multi-channel mixes, Dolby Atmos and 5.1 mixes, as well as the PCM stereo at both 192K over 24-bit and also the 96K over 24-bit version. And we get two Frank multi-channel mixes, which are fascinating. We get Sofa number one, the quad mix. What were you going to say, Bill?
To say the least, very interesting.
Yeah. The quad mix of Sofa number one, and we get the San Bernardino 1993 6-channel mix. Plus, we get two newly edited and I presume newly transferred videos of Inca Rhodes and Florentine Pogen from the KCET performance. And perhaps most notably about this is that some of the seizure-inducing edits, and that's not a criticism, but the rapid-fire edits in the Token of His Extreme video are gone. And we do lose Bruce Bickford's claymation, which, by the way, I love, and I appreciate his claymation. I appreciate the work that what goes into it, but I also appreciate the option of being able to see this material the way it was and just see the interaction of the band members. Like I mentioned before, like that moment where Frank's saying, to Ruth, we're going to take it fast. And she's like, no, take it easy on me. All that stuff is just brilliant. It's just brilliant to witness. So Bill, did you have any thoughts? You said that the Frank multi-channel mixes are really interesting. Did you have any thoughts about those?
I don't think that he was finished with them, actually. I mean, he saved them for one reason or another. The 6-channel one was kind of puzzling to me, where he used a lot of the heights that 6 channels setup and not too much in the back channels.
I did notice some like rhythm guitar overdubs or something that were kind of swimming in the back channels. And what I found interesting about that is that Goebel and Auger actually copied that placement for their multi-channel mixes. So that they're definitely listening to this stuff with an ear for trying to capture what was in Frank's head.
Yeah,
And I think that's really interesting.
yeah. They've got the right people doing the surround mixes for this, because
Oh yeah,
they're definitely trying to treat Frank's legacy with as much care as possible.
yeah. And it makes me wonder, when you're talking about the positioning and the heights and stuff, I wonder what his 6-channel setup was like, because it not necessarily would be the same as like a Dolby Atmos setup. And I wonder how much, like, did Auger and Goebel have to adapt that mix to like a modern setup?
Yeah. Well, because I mean, have you ever mixed in Dolby Atmos?
I've kind of experimented with it a little bit, but the problem I have is I haven't yet figured out a way to monitor. So I have to mix binaurally.
Okay. Yeah, because and I have not. So I'm probably gonna have to talk to Joe Travers about this. But I believe that instead of being able to assign it to a specific speaker, you have to assign it to a specific space.
Right.
There in the whole room. So
yeah. What you see is, not to interrupt, but what you see is it's like a room space, and you see like a guy's head and like his ears, and then you position it. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Frank did not have that option.
Right.
But it's really cool that Karma and Eric are able to look at that and emulate it as good as possible.
Yeah. And it's also like just increasingly fascinating to me. And I'm sorry, Jaco. We're going to move on very quickly, because I know you're not listening to this in multi-channel.
No. I'm listening to you talking about it.
I hope it's interesting enough to you.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's interesting to me that even though quad had fallen by the wayside by 75, and 5.1 surround sound was another couple years off. Like, I don't think that really started to happen in people's homes until like the late 90s.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that Frank was still thinking about multi-channel audio. And what I read was that he and Spencer Crislew, right? Those guys did the mixes together. What I read is that he prepared multiple mixes from the back catalog as kind of like a demonstration of what his 6-channel setup was like. And I think I remember reading an account of Rage of the Fury on a website where somebody said they were invited over to hear it in Frank's 6-channel setup in like the early 90s. So, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I just find it so fascinating that Frank was always thinking a little bit ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard that he also, I believe, during the Rage and Fury sessions and also the Yellow Shark sessions, had some sort of apparatus with multiple microphones in it that could be moved around and then fed to a surround mix. That's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's amazing what he was thinking of, because I don't think anybody, I mean, sure, I might be wrong, correct me, of course, but I don't think anybody else was thinking about multi-channel mixes in 1993, and he was obsessed with it. So that's another reason why these sets make so much sense to present this music this way. And I think also, it's kind of interesting that they would mix this album, because I think for Waka Jawaka and Grand Wazoo, at least, he had notes of what a quadraphonic mix would be like. I don't know if he ever did one, but this is kind of the first time, aside from Cheaper Than Cheap, that they've mostly created their own mix.
Yeah.
Of course, Sofa, they copied a lot of his positioning and stuff, and the same for San Bernardino. But I think at this point, they're probably experienced enough in working with his methods that they could take an educated guess of what Frank would do. But then there's also this part of me that's like, if Frank had the Dolby Atmos technology, he would be driving us crazy with it.
Oh yeah.
And, I'm thinking like Ricky Lancelotti in 50/50. He's like screaming and bubbling all around your head. Like he would be doing stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Neighbor kids.
So, Bill, one other thing I wanted to ask you about, you made a really interesting observation about the high resolution version the stereo version on the Blu-ray, you're hearing stuff that you'd never heard before.
Yeah, it's like getting one of those acoustic sounds 45 RPM boxes. It's just like it's a whole new way of hearing it. And usually when I listen to the high def version of something that comes with a box set, it's not that exciting to me. But that piano in Pajama People just sang me when I heard it in the high res stereo version.
Yeah.
So there's something in every little element of this box to be interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that kind of what you're getting at here is that this is the best version of this album, and you have multiple choices of best versions. But even if you are like very hardcore a stereo guy, but if you have the option of Blu-ray audio, you're going to hear the best stereo version available. Now, you did talk a little bit about the vinyl version, which I'm not a vinyl guy. I do have a turntable, but
let's see, where is it? Yep, I got the 2-record vinyl version. And the only bad thing about this is that glitter black or black glitter pressing. There's actual glitter in the vinyl, and it does cause a surface noise.
Yeah.
I wish I could get a straight black vinyl version of this new cut, because Chris Spellman did a really good job of cutting this. And just like the high res version from Bob Ludwig's master, there's a lot of transients in the piano and the guitar and the drums that are just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say transients, if you were to explain that to a layperson,
like,
what do you mean?
The first sound that you hear, the instant of the sound, like when a piano key is struck, and you hear that hammer hitting the string, it just, it's not muted. I mean, I've heard some pianos that where it sounds like there's blankets over the piano, but then when you take those blankets off, the whole piano opens itself up, and the impact or the first hit of the string or the guitar string or the drum head, just you hear more harmonics, just more instantaneous energy out of that. It's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I would be interested in hearing the vinyl version at some point, but I read Abby DeVoe's review of it today or yesterday.
Yeah,
she had the same complaint. Like, don't ever put this on speckled vinyl. Like, so
yeah. Whoever thought that was a good idea to put the glitter on the vinyl.
Well, I don't want to get too far into this, but there is a certain segment of the physical media buying public that only seem to care about the presentation.
Yeah.
And they don't care about what it sounds like in movies. They don't care what it looks like. It's like, what about this cover art? What about this packaging? And I think that there might be enough people out there who are enamored by this colored vinyl thing that it could move another, I don't know, couple thousand copies or whatever. But,
yeah, I was reading about vinyl filled with liquid today. There was a band that released vinyl filled, beer filled. The vinyl was filled with beer, and of course, after a while, it starts rotting and stuff like that. I don't understand why anyone want anything like that in their collection, but
yeah,
simply for collector's sake only, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And there's some people who will buy everything because they got to have every single version. And I'm not accusing you of that, Bill, because you did say there was one variant you didn't buy. So
I didn't get the single LP that is printed on a foil type of thing, and that's on the Blue Galaxy vinyl, which whatever that is.
Yeah.
But and this was so weird that this happened right after I had put out a video about questions that I had received about black vinyl versus colored vinyl versus picture discs.
You're right. And Folk Freak says, I hate to be that guy, but I'm happy that I don't have to deal with vinyl anymore. And I don't fault anybody for enjoying vinyl. I think it's a great experience to have it. But for me, it's like, and I'm going to put that comment back up. For me, it's like, I have to choose my vices. And I'm a movie collector too. I like the whole 4K Blu-ray thing. And it's like box sets for music, 4K vinyl, 4K video. Not going to do vinyl, but full respect to folks who collect that stuff, because it is cool. It's cool to have the cover at that size and to be able to read the liner notes and stuff. One thing, for instance, about this album is that it's got one of the best back covers of any record ever. And this is something you get to enjoy with the Blu-ray.
Yes.
Is you get to watch the constellations go by, and you see different constellations. And I used to have this album on vinyl, but I never looked at it that carefully. And it's like Sagittarius is one of the, instead of Sagittarius, you get Agitarius.
I found a couple of jokes I hadn't seen before.
Right. So like, I definitely understand why you'd want to own this album on vinyl, because it's a great cover art, and you could get into some of those little details on the back cover, especially. But see, 99% of the current talk and opinion about vinyl releases is about nothing important. Let's argue over pressing plans and colors instead of the source tape and how it is mastered in the first place. So yeah, I mean, I get that. We're going to say something, Jaco?
About vinyl or in general?
Just in general.
Because I don't really have an opinion on vinyl. I mean, I do have. You probably can. That's my vinyl collection. Those are mostly old pressings that I buy just to have the album on vinyl. But I'm not really a vinyl consumer. And I don't know if you guys talked about that while I was, on forced vacation earlier. But the liner notes on this set here are very interesting on this set. And I did enjoy reading Ruth Underwood's notes, and they're a little bit of a letdown in some way, because I always picture '74 as a happy period in Frank's bands, and hearing that the Caribou sessions weren't really happy was a little bit of a letdown. But she writes in a very interesting way, and I would be very interested to read a book written by Ruth Underwood.
I was going to say, Ruth needs to write a book. I would buy that in a heartbeat. I would sign up for an autographed copy of a Ruth Underwood autobiography. Because she writes so beautifully, and I'm a writer too. I mean, I write a lot of the material for my YouTube videos, and I actually get jealous when I read her words, because just the way she's able to turn a phrase, and eloquency, but also being able to write concisely too at the same time. And she writes with a lot of heart, which is, you can't teach that. You can't teach heart in a literature class or a writing course or whatever, journalism. And she's just natural. I mean, I think Ruth's a beautiful soul in general. She's one of my favorite members of Zappa's bands ever. And yeah, to read her accounts that maybe something not so happy happened there at the end it's a little upsetting. It's a little disturbing.
Yeah, because it certainly doesn't sound like a claustrophobic album. That's not the vibe you get by listening to the music, which was pretty interesting to me. Yeah.
And it doesn't sound isolated either. And it's like, I'm reading about the Caribou Ranch sessions, and I'm playing out scenes of The Shining in my head, like everybody being kind of sequestered off from one another, and not getting the interaction that they would have had on tour. Yeah, it's sad to see that they broke up, but it's amazing that none of that comes through in the music at all.
Yeah.
It's a very joyous album.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Ruth Underwood was actually back with Frank for the Palladium 76 shows. So whatever happened there, whatever bad things happened there, didn't really have that lasting effect on her.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a mention of a disturbing incident that I don't know if I want to know about on the booklet.
Yeah.
But that sounds that's kind of things, are always interesting to read. But that's when you got to separate, not even the artist from the music, like the whole thing from the music, the whole story from the music.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be able to enjoy Throat Mask Replica if you don't do that.
That's true. And for some people, it's hard enough to enjoy Trout Mask Replica. I don't have a problem with it, but it's a difficult ask for a lot of people. So, but Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up here, one of my favorite questions to ask, and some of this has been covered already, but I would love to talk about what we'd like to see next come out. And I've already mentioned my 3, at least from '74, and you mentioned the Italian show. But Bill, what's on your Zappa release wish list?
My wish list? Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I would obviously love to see a Bongo Fury box set, and I don't know when that's coming. And I'm even looking more into the future with like, I mean, Zoodalures. I know that was a difficult time for Frank, but then I would just love to see a box set of Lather, but nobody knows when that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that earlier. Like they said, 70 disc version of Lather. That'd be like a King Crimson size box set.
But
yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that things aren't announced way ahead of time, it's basically when they know what they're going to make it, they announce it, is because there are so many variables in Frank's catalog and the way that things are left and all the work that has to be done to make these, that it's really unfair to say, oh, this will be the next one and this is when it should come out. No, nothing's official until they announce it, and there's good reason for it.
Yeah. I mean, like I remember Joe talking about the 200 Motels box set and how that was a labor of love for years.
Yeah,
where he would put on, all these tapes. Some of them maybe were mislabeled or unlabeled, and he might be working on another project and then come across oh, that's a little snippet. That's an outtake from 200 Motels. Okay, let's put that aside. And I think that the only thing that maybe he wasn't able to recover was a little bit of Strictly Gentile. But he was able to still create a really nice box. And then of course there's the film, but aside from that, he was able to still create a nice love letter to that project.
Yeah, definitely a lot of stuff I'd never heard before. And it was a shame that they couldn't get the film to be put in there.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, that they seem to have acquired the distribution or something. They've done a new distribution deal for the films, and I think you can now see 200 Motels on the Zappa website. So who knows? But I think a lot of that's the director, right? The director's kind of blocking that.
Tony Palmer. Yeah.
Tony Palmer.
I don't know.
Yeah, there have been problems with him. I don't know the specifics, but could well be. Well, of course, there's the track on the box set where he's being recorded while he's saying that he wants to ruin all the tapes. So I can't imagine him being, that easy to work with.
And I do have a DVD that says Tony Palmer's version of 200 Motels.
Yeah, and it's awful, right?
It's supposed to be. No, I'm getting up because I want to show you my cassette version of 200 Motels.
Yay!
Yeah, that's I don't know. It probably looks very bad, but that's my copy of it. I can't even play it.
Yeah, it's sad, but the version that I have is a rip off of Turner Classic Movies from over 10 years ago, and it's the best version I've ever seen. So, yeah,
that one was supposedly good. Yeah.
So a couple comments. Johnny says Frank already knew Ruth was leaving, so I don't think there were bad feelings on her part. Don't know what happened with Chester. Well, Chester went to Weather Report first, and it's kind of interesting because I listened to Seconds Out as kind of like an extra material for preparing to talk about One Size Fits All, and it's interesting how much Chester's approach changed. By the time he's in Genesis, to me, it's a much lighter touch. And I'd be curious to hear what he did with Weather Report, because I think maybe some of that might have refined him a little bit. But Chester on this set is outrageously awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this in my review, but the positioning of the toms in the heights is sick. It's like thunder from the heavens, man. As for Ruth, we're lucky to have her as from June 74 on, because I don't think she really wanted to come back at all. She kind of had to be convinced to come back, and that story's in the Cheaper Than Cheap set. But yeah, so let's see. Oh, I want to say hi to Michael Dawson.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
See, my friend.
Isn't it only the true story of 200 motels that's on the Zappa Honker site, not 200 motels itself?
I think it's right.
Yeah, you might be right about that. I may have misread that, but yeah. So I think we're going to wind down here. Was there anything else we want to talk about? Any questions from the audience here?
Well, the only thing I would like to say is that I dearly hope to see some more original Mothers of Invention stuff coming out. Specifically, some studio stuff. The Apostrophe studio stuff would be really a big dream coming true, and also the 69 sessions with Lowell George are high on my priority list. Or anything, or even 69 live material, you know, like the Royal Albert Hall show, or all of those Dick Conk road tapes. Those would be fantastic to have officially released. We should see about that.
Well, I keep hoping that since we're doing the multi-channel mixes of the 70s albums, that I'd like to see Hot Rats get a multi-channel mix, because those tapes do exist, right? Because he was able to do a mix in the early 90s.
Apparently.
Yeah. So that's one thing. If we drop back a couple of years, I think a multi-channel, like a standalone release of Hot Rats would be sick. And I mentioned earlier that there is a quad mix that exists of Roxy and Elsewhere that needs to get released. And if they're going to do that, they might as well do an Atmos mix too. And
they can do like a whole quadraphonic box set.
Or a whole quadraphonic box set. Yeah, just all these odds and ends. Like that would be awesome.
It would.
And Michael Dawson says San Diego 1973. I think that's because he was there.
I think he got one track on one of those Zappa movies. You know, there's supposedly a vinyl only release that has one small fragment of that one. And infuriatingly, I don't think a bootleg version of that show circulates at all. So that's his only hope.
Yeah, so it does exist, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes, it does.
Cool.
Of course, about Hot Rats, of course, the multi-tracks exist because they were able to do the Hot Rats Sessions box set.
Right.
So, yeah, they could well do that.
Yeah. Well, that would be something that I would like to see. And I understand, you know, like why it's a good marketing choice to release the multi-channel mixes as a box set, because obviously the people who have multi-channel systems is a very small niche compared to people who buy CDs and vinyl and stuff. But I would like to see more standalone multi-channel releases come out for people like me and Bill, who are really digging this stuff and really get a lot out of it, because I enjoy these concerts. I enjoy the studio outtakes, but ultimately it's the albums that I go back to the most. So I'm probably going to be reaching for the multi-channel mixes of One Size Fits All over any of the other discs going forward. So, but that's just me. Cause I love hearing it pulled apart, and I love hearing all the layers, and it's something that is a very powerful learning tool for me when I go back to my mixing and mastering work. So yeah, guys, this was a lot of fun. Yeah. Thanks for joining me today.
Great.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted.
And I'm sorry about your technical issues, Jaco, but hopefully next time you're on, it'll be a little cooler weather. If I can leave you with any message, it's that if anything that we've talked about today sounds interesting to you, you should pick up this box set. Because I think that if you're interested enough to listen to us talk about it for 2 hours, then you're probably going to want to buy it at some point. So whether you go to the Zappa store and get it, which I could post a quick link, but if you go to the Zappa store, you can buy it. It's also on You Discover Music, which you can use like a 20% off coupon, I think, and get it for like under $60 or something. Otherwise wait until the general release on September 26th.
I think they've already started to take pre-orders on Amazon.
Okay, cool. Well, it'll be on Amazon, and if you folks are into like Wayside Music, I think Wayside Music is going to carry it out of Washington, D.C. So, and Michael says, does this kind of box sound interesting to you? If the answer is yes, then I definitely highly recommend it. All right. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jaco. And
Thank you, Ian.
we'll have to do this again sometime very soon.
Yep.
All right.
All
Bye-bye,
right.
guys. Thanks. Thanks for all of
Take
our
care.
commenters and everybody for watching. And you'll hear from me real soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.